Hello and welcome. This is Alisha here at New Earth Children. This is the first YouTube post that I'll be posting. This will be a channel that will be focused and dedicated around sacred relationships and partnerships, New Earth children, and pathing the way for New Earth living in all facets. So to start off, I thought I would audio record the first article that has been many years in the making for me. And the title of this is The Archetypes of Sacred Relationships and Soul Connections. So it's going to be a bit of a long one. So I recommend to get relaxed and comfortable so that you can take in all the information. Some of it may or may not be relevant to you. But the reason for me to share this information is to help people best understand and get the best out of the different types of soul connections that we have along the ascension pathway. So a special thanks to Katie Jane at Vibro Sound. You may hear some sounds in the background. That is her music, so I hope that will soften and place you into a nice relaxed state so that you can absorb this information. So here we go. As we move through the changes of the ages on the planet, a large portion of souls will start to open up and connect with people from their past. These connections have been an imperative influence along their soul's journey through the existence of the third dimensional experience and beyond. This is a key aspect to the dimensional shift which is occurring on the planet for ourselves individually and collectively. As we become more awakened to the true nature of reality, we step into more remembrance of ourself on a soul level. With that, we magnetize or align ourselves with soul fragment aspects of our oversoul who have been pivotal for our soul's growth on many occasions. This occurs for a number of reasons, so that we can complete and dissolve karma within our own experience, thus allowing us to graduate the 3D experience and move into a full embodiment of 5D or higher, depending on the soul's place of origin. In doing this, we can heal and clear the karmic timelines from Earth's history and restore the original template. There is a big state of confusion when it comes to twin flames, twin souls, soulmates, and karmic connections. There are many labels and attachments that are carried which can keep people in that state of confusion, especially when you come into contact with your first deep soul connection, the first time you experience love beyond a third dimensional experience. It's very quick for the human mind to place such importance and emphasis on them being the only one, or the one that you've been waiting all your life for. Then you begin the cosmic dance and things become magical and blissful. However, the triggers begin to bubble to the surface. You go from states of bliss, high levels of states of bliss, then to be highly triggered, which is when you truly know the ascension path has officially begun. You feel as though you couldn't possibly love another in the same way or same intensity. And then it happens again. Another person enters and it completely uproots your whole belief system of what you believe to be the only one. You know, we've seen it all. Some have experienced that, which can be incredibly confusing. Makes us feel all sorts of conflict, questioning yourself and everything that you've previously experienced. Was it real? What happened? What changed? The truth of the matter is that we have all sorts of soul connections which are equally serve an important purpose to contribute to our growth and evolution throughout our own ascension process and for the collective evolution. depending on your own soul's journey throughout history of the human race and beyond, will determine how many different soul connections you may encounter in this lifetime. As we're on the precipice of massive transition as a human race, we begin to move from one dimension to another in what I like to call the graduation process. We will have the opportunity to reconnect with all at some point to heal karmic cycles that have played out and carried over into this lifetime. Graduation means coming to the end of 3D grievances, injustices, wrongdoings, to make them right again, to heal and transform and transcend so you can move into new experiences of fifth dimensional consciousness and physical embodiment. So when you have a think about it from that perspective, how many lifetimes have you lived? How many great loves have you had? How many love triangles have you participated in? How many times have you experienced unrequited love, left a lover, loved and lost through tragic endings? And this is just on an earth level. When we look beyond that, we have very different experiences. When we expand to a galactic or cosmic level, the difference is that we don't tend to have harsher love lessons off planet. Couples are paired for purpose and mission. When we blend it all together, we have so many different types of connections. When we come into connection with them in this lifetime, we will experience a sense of familiarity, a knowing of them, a feeling of intense love, a feeling of hurt or guilt. As we go through our own internal process, a remembrance of deep memories that are brought up to transcend as we move through our evolutionary process, some of which can be very deep and moving or horrifically painful. This could seem overwhelming at first. However, if you're able to shift and change our perspective, we have an amazing opportunity to go through a powerful transformation with a profound opportunity to heal at such deep levels and go through radical transformation within ourselves. As I mentioned, one's own soul experience and mission on the planet in this lifetime will determine how many counterparts we may encounter. Some people may only just have one, and they'll go through the entire process with, while others may come in contact with a few, or all of the ones that I will outline as we go along. Keep in mind, this is just a summary of outlines of groupings and trends of what I have observed over years of working with many people on the twin flame journey. And through this, observing the different dynamics and aspects that has brought me to these conclusions. As I write this, I feel that the understanding of this concept will only continue to evolve and expand. As we reach higher levels of consciousness, we are able to access higher awareness and therefore can see things from a higher perspective. In my opinion, not one counterpart is higher or lower in importance. Each one holds very special and specific purpose and an important part to the whole as we move through individually and collectively. We move through the connections in a sequence of order of what our soul has already written to best benefit our healing and growth. Often we have to go through harder, more challenging relationships first in order to become a more evolved version of ourselves in preparation for the next connection to come into place. A certain level of soul healing and maturity is needed to be open to exploring divine love in its purest form. As the saying goes, it is absolutely possible to love more than one person. We are beings of unconditional love at our very core essence, and this can be experienced in a myriad way and different types of love. The core fundamental reason and purpose of sacred relationships coming in mass into the planet at this time is to be able to break down all the 3D templates of relationships to be able to be transcended. Things like codependency, toxicity, inadequacy, abuse on mental, emotional, physical level, unworthiness, lack, victim consciousness, the list goes on. In the process of breaking down the templates of these relationship dynamics, which have been experienced on Earth for thousands of years, we have the ability to bring back and restore the original templates of relationships which are held within a 5D consciousness of unconditional love, interdependence, trust, respect, balance, equilibrium, and equality. This is what many of us have experienced in other civilizations such as Lemuria, Egypt, and Atlantis, before the fall and divide took place within each society. Each person on this journey holds sacred codes, knowing and understanding of what is possible within a 5D relationship template to get back to that core essence. However, it can take a lot of releasing and healing of what has been experienced during the darker times on this planet. This can be said for those souls who have shared off-planet connections, as most of these are higher dimensional and on higher template of love. So with that in mind, we are such powerful souls on this planet doing epic work to completely change the game and nature of relationship for all who have chosen to pave the way and show what's possible to the rest of humanity. So let us explore a little deeper and look at the qualities and attributes of each of the different types of connections. The importance of this is to help you understand origins and purpose of the connection, so that you can best understand and go through each connection with awareness and conscious connection. The first is what I'd like to call the Earth Counterpart. I see this as someone who you've had many Earth incarnations with, someone who you have been in a loving commitment with time and time again. Often incarnations in specific time in Earth's history, where both of you will have experienced the higher times of civilization throughout Earth's past, where you would have trained in specific arts and healing modalities, alchemy, learned gifts and abilities which have contributed to society in some way. In the contrast, also experience some of the darker times through Earth's past, where both of them, or separately, have experienced the darker side of humanity, witnessing or participating in the darker sides of the human experience to be able to understand polarity of the dualistic nature of 3D. Together there may be love and loss within the connection that plays out different types of love. This connection and bond is very intense and strong, as you will, to some degree, find it easy from the beginning of this connection to feel an intense sense of love and familiarity. It can be very comfortable and almost feel as though you can slip back into a role of partnership with that person, as though the relationship continues through time and space. The human mind can be incredibly confused, as it can give you a sense of love at first sight for someone that you've only just met. Whereas on a soul level, it's so natural and normal and comfortable. These type of connections can also bring forth karma to clear up between both parties if there was some sort of loss, rejection, deceit, or guilt. This will bring forward lessons and patterns to be resolved through the connection and thus radiate out into the collective field. On a physical level, these two can look alike, have very similar facial structures, similar tones and complexions. Often find that you've lived very similar lifestyles, worked in similar jobs, had similar life experiences. You'll share common interests, passions, and have a very similar skill set, both on a human level and of a spiritual nature. The purpose of this connection is to share a soul pathway which can right the wrongs and neutralize some of the duality which has been experienced in your soul's journey together. Also to activate your gifts and abilities so that they can be accessed to their full capacity and be worked in developing new ways, structures, healing arts, and fundamental foundations for new earth and higher consciousness living, which will both enrich the lives of one another and once again contribute to society as a whole. Next, we're going to explore the Galactic Counterpart. This type of counterpart, in my opinion, is the hardest to reach physical union on planet Earth, as they come from a much higher dimension in consciousness. This dynamic pairing usually have lived out lives on other planets, in other solar systems, and have shared joint missions together, either on one or multiple occasions. As they come into physical contact, the frequency exchange is so high that they unhinge each other's physical life in a 3D capacity. If there is misalignment within their human existence with what their soul mission is, this causes great chaos. Coming into contact can create massive explosions in abrupt endings of jobs, businesses, relationships, friendships, and living locations. Anything which is misaligned or not in their highest alignment will and can be abruptly taken out, like the rug being pulled out from under your life. The physical connection can be completely overwhelming, and they will only be able to spend short periods of time together, as it will dramatically cause such an expansion in cosmic consciousness, and memories of galactic connections, experiences and missions will start to come back. This is where one or both will start to have conscious contact with galactic beings and start interfacing with them to start a larger scale mission. This part may not be for all who encounter a galactic counterpart. Part of the journey can be long periods of years of physical separation and dark nights of the soul, as a part of their own path and spiritual evolution. In some rare cases, these galactic counterparts can be still serving their galactic mission as part of what some may know as the SSP, or Secret Space Program. This is a process where their consciousness is used in a different vessel off-planet to serve as super soldiers, to fight galactic or interstellar wars. While this is happening, their human aspect will be pulled down into a watered-down version of themselves. They will be appearing on the surface level whilst being heavily ingrained into the 3D experience, with very short stints of their higher aspect integrated in the physical experience. The SSP, or the Secret Space Program, are well known to recruit some of the most intelligent and highly evolved starseeds who have incarnated on Earth from a very young age. Often they belong to military families, in particular the Navy, and are identified and marked as young children and recruited quite young. Most often, none of these memories are accessed until their serving in these programs have been completed, which can range between 20 to 40 years of Earth incarnation. They will often have dreams of being in battle, fighting, war, and images that would only resemble things from a sci-fi movie. So until these galactic missions are completed and Earth reaches a much higher frequency, many of these connections can be hit and miss in coming together, simply because a larger galactic mission is far too important. They are needed, or should I say their consciousness is, to be cleaning up timelines and fighting for peace in a larger, grand, cosmic level. On a physical level, the core aspects will be very similar, such as your essence, frequency, and core values. On the exterior, the personality traits and qualities may look the complete opposite, the complete opposing polarities, yin and yang, black and white. This is the complementary counterpart, where one will have the attributes that the other does not, and vice versa. So together they become a powerhouse to complete the energy field. Often the karma which is brought through between both can be a great deal. It can consist of galactic wars and some of the most disastrous times where ET, interference on the planet, went wrong. The galactic counterpart will often have gifts and abilities that they have worked with and refined, brought through from other experiences on different incarnations, high level of energy, work, building and working with different types of technologies, being able to receive, talk or channel, create artwork in light codes and light language. In essence, through these practices, they will ground and embody high levels of consciousness onto the planet. Encountering and connecting with them enables them both to remember and restore some of their soul memories. This starts to bring back their gifts and abilities to work with and activate their soul mission here on Earth. This will help bridging the gap with the human race and ET beings as Earth moves into understanding and becoming aware of our galactic origins and to eventually become the new human. Now we're moving into karmic completion, High Initiator Counterpart, with subcategories of interference, handlers, reptilians, and shapeshifters. These type of counterparts can be what I would like to call the wolf in sheep's clothing. The initial contact and connection can be one of profound love or lust at first sight. This is one thing which cannot be clearly seen until hindsight, and this is done purposefully and with good intention. This connection will be magnetizing and massively desirable, almost intoxicating. Most of these connections are based more on a physical nature of sexual pleasure, toxic chemistry of behaviors patterns which will be triggered and highlighted. The draw is so magnetic that you can't stop being drawn to engage with them, and this is there for a reason. This is because the fate of karma clearing must be completed through this dance for you to move forward into the next phase of your relationship pathway. It is often the magnetic pull of lust/love. It starts to wear off after about 6 months. Intense triggers and woundings will occur. The difference between these relationships and other connections is the state of balance, and harmony will never be reached until you complete the karma. You will work incredibly hard to get it back to the original state of bliss that it once was in the beginning, and that's why you'll overcompensate and lose yourself in one of these connections quite easily. There are many names and labels for these, such as false twin, narcissistic twin, etc., etc. I prefer to call them the High Initiator because that's exactly what they are. They will test you to your core, take you to some very dark places to highlight the need for healing around things such as addiction, abuse, victim consciousness, lack or need for control, a manipulation in the relationship. They are very conditional, and they test you in becoming your own sovereign being. What I often see is once you've reclaimed your personal power through what you've learned in these type of relationships, you break the patterns, you resolve the karma, then you evolve into a much more healed version of yourself at a higher vibrational state, and now be ready to connect with a more significant counterpart. It is these type of relationships that has tainted the name twin flame in modern day times, as we can have multiple karmic connections, not just one, depending on how much karma you've accumulated and need to resolve. On a 3D level is how many connections you need to heal. The karma between these can often be extreme betrayal, deceit, murder, cheating, and love triangles. On a physical level, there is much emphasis placed on the physical connection based on their material status, the lust of the physical attraction, and also the draw of mind-blowing sex. The desire to just want to be with each other, otherwise I might die type sensation can be very common. There is no sense or greater purpose of service in these connections. However, they teach us a lot about attachment versus connection. Also, there can be nefarious energies working through these connections, which can, as some would perceive, keep true counterparts out of each other's lives and coming into union. This can be seen as interference energies that work through another person to keep one counterpart in a state of confusion. This can be a partner or even a family member. Keep in mind, this isn't the person itself who is meddling or interfering. It is the energy or attachment which is working through them. We also have handlers. Handlers are for people who've been in various secret space programs or military projects, MK Ultra and sex slave programs. This person is assigned to keeping them under mind control. This can be family members who have sold their children into these programs, and often then the handler will resume roles to a wife or partner, or in this case a karmic connection. The handlers are mind controlled themselves, and often people who are the most susceptible, the people who are most susceptible are people who have been sexually abused as children or had some sort of trauma which makes them more susceptible to being programmed. Both interference and handlers are a physical person who have been taken over by another energy or entity, often negatively oriented reptilian. These people can have shape-shifting nature and be sweet in one moment, and then a trigger occurs or the mind control kicks in and they become vicious, nasty, manipulative, aggressive, and in some cases what we would call pure evil. The purpose of these is to keep the individual in a lower state of consciousness and disconnected to their true divine nature. These karmic connections are generally the hardest path that we can take in this lifetime. They are necessary, messy, ugly part of the path to be able to clear karma which was created in past lifetimes, and also to heal that aspect of yourself in the process. I don't think anyone on a divine partnership journey doesn't encounter at least one of these partnerships. It is part of the path. And when it comes to the realization or ending, it can make you feel incredibly lost and confused. I always say that once we've completed a karmic or high initiator relationship, that is generally once we've healed and empowered ourselves from that experience, and this is when we're actually ready to experience divine love and connection in our lives. The next type is soulmates, platonic, romantic, and soul family. Soulmates are the most loving, supportive types of soul connections we encounter in this lifetime. With soulmates, we have many and all different types of dynamics. These souls are part of our soul group and soul pod, whom we've had other lifetimes with. This can be a combination of Earth and on other planets. As we encounter these connections, we will feel an immediate sense of remembrance. They will look and seem familiar to us in some way, as though we've met before. There will be a recognition when you look at them in the eye. This will spark the deep recognition of remembrance, that feeling of, where do I know you from? Have we met before? And of course you have, but just not in this lifetime. Soulmates can be forms of best friends, parents, siblings, animals and co-workers, and of course romantic relationships. Not all soulmates are meant to be of a romantic connection, and this can be confusing, as when you feel a deep soul recognition, love and connection, and the ability to be seen and loved in a non-judgmental way. When this comes in form of an opposite sex, for a hetero person of course, this can cause an attraction to the human mind, as not all soulmate connections are meant to be romantic. However, if they are, they can make foundations for great loving, stable home environments to raise children and make a happy life together. The other aspect of soulmate relationships as part of a greater, wider planetary shift is for these people to connect and find one another, to bring back aspects of remembrance, to work together, to support each other in collaboration and soul work mission together. Now we move to the Disincarnate Counterpart. So the Disincarnate Counterpart is one which has decided to transition during the course of this lifetime. They pass away and move into higher states of consciousness or into New Earth before the other one does. This can be incredibly painful to have such a profound love and then go through the grief of loss and losing their physical presence. This, from my understanding, is designed to help the other's ascension process to grow their gifts and abilities to the non-physical world, and of course they will meet again after this lifetime or when we transition into New Earth. The counterpart who has passed away will serve as a spirit guide who will help love and support the other from the non-physical. The other types of disincarnate counterparts can be whereas one has decided to incarnate on the earth at this time and the other has decided to stay back in the high dimensional realms to be a guide on the other side. Finally, we also may have this applied to the Galactic Counterpart as well, where some may be incarnated here on Earth, while their counterpart does not take physical form or come onto Earth, instead stays on the spacecraft in their galactic embodiment. This way they will still have encounters with one another on the astral or while on craft, as they're able to serve out their mission together. One will work from Earth and the other one in outer space on the larger galactic mission. Now we move into the walk-in or soul transference counterpart. So the walk-in is where there has been agreement between two souls that at some stage during the incarnation where the original soul who has inhabited the body will exit and allow another soul to come in and inhabit that body. This can happen at the time of a near-death experience or at the time of some intense trauma. This is something which has already been agreed upon before incarnation. In some cases where the counterpart has disincarnated, they can find their way back to their counterpart through a walk-in scenario. Now we have soul transference. This is very different to a walk-in. This is something which is becoming more prevalent in the most recent years, and something that can take place in extreme circumstances, where one of the counterpart has delayed or opted out via free will from their soul mission. The transference of the energy can go from one counterpart to another high-level soulmate, so that one who is on the path of purpose can continue their journey and fulfill their mission that they were set out to achieve for the purpose of planetary ascension. From my understanding, it is, as I mentioned, different to a walk-in. The soul remains the same of the two individuals. However, there is a transference of energy which is siphoned from one human body to the other, which initiates the divine love frequency and twin-like qualities from one person to another, so that their journey continues with two willing participants on a soul mission, and that is completed. If the soul transference happened before all the lessons and learnings have been completed in one dynamic, which in most cases happens, the transference will also transpose the relevant learning and lessons, as well as the soul mission. Lastly, we have the Heart Activator. This is a type of person who is already on a divine counterpart journey, and as a part of their mission, they will, by encounter, heart activate other people to kickstart their ascension pathway and potentially start their counterpart journey. This can happen in public figures, people in the spiritual community, people in customer service roles, musicians and actors, etc. When the heart activation is received from one of these people, it can be confusing to the human mind, as they can feel a profound sense of love towards that person and feeling a deep soul connection. The feeling that this person who activated them is their counterpart, when in actual fact it is the heart activation of pure love, which is the first time that it's been felt or encountered. So it's not those people are acting as a catalyst to activate other people's heart so they can start their journey, but not necessarily their counterpart. As a side note, this does not take away from people who have public figure counterparts, as that is a path for some who are on the divine love journey. This can also happen in non-romantic ways, where the activator will trigger the ascension process or get people more aligned with soul mission. Predominantly in healers, this is the case. Every soul connection plays a very important role and purpose in the evolution of individual and for the planet. The souls working in these types of connections and missions are here to rewrite the template of love, relationships, families, parenting, to bring this world into a place of balanced love, trust, respect, and harmony. What is important as we go through these connections and experiences is to not get caught up in the titles, labels, or identification, but to truly understand the nature of connection and understanding the origins and the purpose that it plays in our lives and how it can contribute to the greater, wider picture of the global ascension process. Each and everyone contributes in their own unique way, and thus the flow-on effect is to be experienced and enjoyed by all. It is fair to say that these relationships and journeys are not for the faint-hearted. It's so much more than two people meeting and living happily ever after. They are designed to catapult you on your awakening and ascension pathway, to challenge your belief systems, limitations, and transcend them, to remember who you are on a soul level so that you can bring that essence here in the physical world and embody that, to share that. The mission is far greater than just having a happy, fulfilling relationship. They are here to have a purpose, to change the game in the relationship status quo, and to use that experience to do something which will change society in some way, to leave and uphold a legacy so that our generations who come after us will be enriched by this in some way. Through the healing process, we go through as a result, we heal the ancestral wounds and traumas of our ancestors and for the planet. If you are on this journey, it's not by coincidence. It's one that you have signed up to on a soul level before coming here, because you knew that you could fulfill this mission, and you were brave, and you were the brave-hearted soul who could break the bonds of slavery and separation and transform darkness back to light and unconditional love. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And if you feel that you would like to know more about this and continue the updates, please like and subscribe to this channel. And if you need any further guidance, I'll put the links in the bio section below where you can read this or access any different types of sessions that are offered to help support you along your journey. Until that, thank you very much, and sending massive love to everyone.